I am James Fayette, but you might also know me as James Lafayette or James Armistead Lafayette. Here are 5 things you should know about me. If you've heard of me, it might be because I was a spy. That's the part people always ask about. I was born a slave on a farm in New Kent County, Virginia. After the Revolution began and the British Army came to Virginia, my master William Armistead became a supply officer for the Continentals. Accompanying him, I soon found myself in the middle of a war. Realizing that all mankind have the right to freedom, I received my master's permission and entered the service of the Marquis de Lafayette. He sent me behind enemy lines as a spy and messenger, often at the peril of my life. I posed as a runaway slave. At the time, thousands of other slaves were on the run, seeking freedom with the British. Nobody thought twice about another runaway in camp. They underestimated me, and they paid for it. I provided information that helped the Americans win the Battle of Yorktown. Spycraft requires operating in the shadows, not leaving a paper trail. And so much of what I did in the British Army is still not known to others. But at least part of my role is no longer hidden. I carried secret messages back and forth between the American and British camps. Eventually, I infiltrated the camp of Lord Cornwallis, the British commander. Working with other spies, I passed along valuable intelligence to the Marquis about the British decision to fortify Yorktown. The Marquis and General Washington used this information as they planned their successful assault on Cornwallis's army. I did my part to help the Americans win the Battle of Yorktown, and maybe even American independence. But I flatter myself. I was granted freedom in 1787. After the war ended, I returned to my master. The Virginia legislature freed some slaves who had served in the war, but I was not among them. It was a disappointment. Because I had worked in secret, I didn't have documentation of my service, so I remained enslaved. While serving Mr. Armistead in Richmond years later, I happened to encounter the Marquis, who was visiting General Washington. After he discovered that I was still a slave, he wrote me a testimonial. He kindly noted that I had performed essential services and important commissions for the American cause and recommended every reward my situation can admit of. Based on the Marquis's word, the Virginia Assembly granted me freedom. Afterward, I lived as a free man in New Kent County. I acquired some property, and later, I received a small pension in recognition of my service in the Revolutionary War. When I received my freedom, I took the name of my friend, the Marquis de Lafayette. In English, that means the Marquis of the Fayette. We usually treated Fayette as 2 words. And so when I sign my name or introduce myself, it is as James Fayette. A pleasure to meet you. The Marquis returned to Virginia in 1824. I made the journey to see him. Though time had aged us both, he recognized me in a crowd and called out. We embraced. It was an emotionally powerful moment for us both. This episode made it into the newspapers. In my later years, I became quite well known. I led an extraordinary life. I was born into slavery. I became a wartime spy. The secrets I gathered helped Americans win their independence and helped me earn my freedom. I am James Fayette, and you're welcome for Yorktown.